Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really cool tool that's swapping out old school guesswork for hard science on the farm. It's called the Livestock Nutrition Audit. Let's find out how it's becoming a total game changer for animal health and really the entire efficiency of a farm. So let's just start with a puzzle. It's a puzzle that pretty much every single livestock farmer on the planet has to solve. You're not just feeding one animal. You're trying to make sure an entire herd gets exactly what it needs to be healthy and productive. I mean, how do you even begin to get that right? Okay, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the problem farmers are up against. Then we'll introduce this pretty brilliant solution, see how it actually works out in the field, and finally, check out the results. Right, let's get into the heart of the challenge here. For any modern farmer, this is a constant, high-stakes, balancing act. For a farmer, what an animal eats is, well, it's everything. It connects directly to their health, how productive they are, and, let's be honest, the farm's bottom line. But if you don't have hard data, it just becomes this massive guessing game, and one wrong guess can hurt the animals and the farm's chances of survival. So how do you stop guessing? How do you replace that with solid information you can actually use? This is where the solution comes in, and it's both really smart and super effective. Honestly, the best way to think about this is something we all get. It's basically like a personal nutritionist, but for a whole herd of cows. The exact same ideas apply. You check out what they're eating now, you analyze what their bodies actually need, and then you create a custom plan based on real data to get them in peak condition. And here's the official name for it. It's called a Livestock Nutrition Audit, or LiNA for short. All it is really is a systematic checkup. It meticulously compares the nutrients they're getting from their food to the nutrients their bodies require. The goal is super simple. Find any gaps, fix them, and optimize everything for health and efficiency. Now, to really appreciate how this audit works, you first gotta understand that a modern livestock menu is, well, it's surprisingly complicated. It's definitely not as simple as you might think. Yeah, it is way more than just grass. A farmer's toolkit is more like a professional chef's pantry, just packed with different ingredients. You've got your basics like roughages and grains, sure, but you also have these scientifically designed mixes, fermented foods, and even special nutrient blocks. For instance, a farmer has to choose between something like silage, which is moist and fermented, and hay, which is all dried out. They might look similar, but each one has a totally different nutritional profile and plays a different role in the diet. And this just shows you the next level of complexity. On one hand, you've got what's called a total mixed ration, which is kind of like a perfectly balanced all-in-one casserole for a cow. And on the other hand, you have these mineral blocks, which are basically supplements the animals can just lick whenever they feel they need a little extra something. Okay, so you've got all these different options on the table. How in the world does the audit make sense of it all? Let's look at how that data gets turned into clear, decisive action. The entire process can be boiled down to 3 really simple, logical steps that anyone can follow. First, you assess. Then, you analyze. And finally, you act. Assess, analyze, act. So, step 1 starts with boots on the ground. The auditor is out there, gathering data, figuring out exactly what the animals are eating every single day and how much. They're looking at feeding schedules and calculating that crucial ratio between bulky stuff, the roughage, and the really nutrient-packed stuff, the concentrates. Next up, they run the numbers. This is where the science really kicks in. They take the supply of nutrients, everything coming from the feed, and they compare it to the demand from the animals. And that demand changes based on age, size, or if they're pregnant or making milk. This simple comparison instantly shows if there are any nutritional gaps or even excesses. And then, step 3. Act. This table shows exactly how that analysis turns into a concrete plan. So if the animals are getting more than 90% of what they need for a certain nutrient, the risk is negligible. You just keep an eye on things. But if that score drops below 40%, the risk is high, and you might need to totally rethink the entire diet. It's a super clear, tiered system for what to do next. So, after all that data has been gathered and crunched, what does the farmer actually get? Let's see how this all comes together into something they can actually use. The end result of the whole audit is this, the LiNA report card. And it's designed to be incredibly easy to understand. It takes all that complicated data and turns it into a simple summary. It points out exactly where the nutrient gaps are and then lays out a precise to-do list for the farmer.
But, at the end of the day, why does any of this matter? Well, the payoff is huge. Farmers who use this system see healthier, more productive animals. We're talking higher milk yields, faster growth, you name it. And by matching the feed to the needs so precisely, they cut down on waste, which lowers their costs. It's a straight line to being more profitable and, frankly, more sustainable.
This quote from Boby Basnet, the animal nutritionist who developed this whole system, it just perfectly captures the philosophy. It's not about how much you feed them, it's about the quality and the balance. It's the difference between just filling an animal's stomach and truly nourishing it. And that really makes you think, doesn't it? Where else, in our businesses, in our own lives, even in how we manage the environment, could this simple but powerful idea of replacing guesswork with a precise, data-driven audit make a world of difference?